Ladies and gentlemen, the presentation is ready to begin. Michael, take it away.
Thanks, Meredith, and welcome everyone to today's eSeminar event, Beyond MDM, Mobile and BYOD Strategies for 2013 and Beyond. This is Michael Krieger with eSeminars, and this year mobile devices are going to surpass PCs as the most common web access tool. Wow. And along with this mobility, there's a raft of changes. BYOD, complexity of the mixed environments we all deal in, bandwidth issues, security, and governance, just to name a few of them. But how can businesses integrate, gain control over, and simplify all aspects of their mobile device environment while harnessing the potential of the latest technology and ultimately improving the cost effectiveness of their mobile strategy? Well, you know what, that's what we're going to talk about today. Really happy to have with us Michelle Nichols, a field solution architect for CDW, and also Brian Lawrence, who is a category supervisor for product and partner management at CDW. But before we get going, let me remind all of you that these are interactive events, and we encourage your participation in a number of ways. This event incorporates interactivity and social networking tools. You can tweet or directly post information to social sites, including blogging platforms, bookmarking, social news sites, and the like, just right from the console. Just scroll along the bottom of the screen and click on the Share This widget for what you'd like to do. Also, if you have a question for one of our speakers, please hit the Ask a Question button on your console. We'll get to your questions during the event or during the live Q&A at the end. We'll answer as many as possible, and ones we don't have time for, we'll get a written response after the event. We're also going to have a live demo today. So Michelle's presentation, Brian is going to regale us with a demo. So that should be real interesting. Hang on for that. And finally, when you're anytime, you can use the green resources widget to download a copy of the slides. We also have some additional documents. You'll see those PDFs all there in the resource tab. And every window you see, from the slide window to the Q&A window, can be enlarged or collapsed. So if you want to change the look and feel of your console, well, just go right ahead. When we're done, we'd appreciate it if you'd complete our post-eSeminar survey to let us know how you like this event. You'll see the link when the event completes in the lower right-hand side of the screen. And I would be remiss if I certainly did not tell all of you that today's event was sponsored by CDW and their partner Mobile Iron. I'd like to thank for that before we get going. Now, just a little bit about today's presenters. Michelle Nichols is going to be up first. She consults with enterprise customers on mobility strategies and products that help them achieve their business goals. She provides on-site technical discussions, solutions design, and presentations. Her areas of expertise include BYOD, mobile strategy, MDM, app management, content management, and carrier services and activation. We will also be joined today by Brian Lawrence. As I mentioned, he's a category supervisor for product and partner management. He creates and implements all these neat awareness programs for the CDW mobility team, focusing on a strategy inclusive of hardware, software, and services that users like us rely on to get our jobs done every day. He also manages CDW's slate and tablet strategy and oversees their carrier relationship with some of the major carriers like AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile, amongst the many other hats he wears. Thank you both for joining us today. Greatly appreciate it. Michelle, right before I turn it over to you for the agenda, I'd like to remind everyone that there will be a transition when we move from the demo, from the presentation to the demo. To do that, we'd love for you to turn off your pop-up blockers, because otherwise you may not be able to see the demo properly. Michelle, take it away.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. Again, my name is Michelle Nichols. I'm a field solution architect at CDW, specific to mobility. And so today we'll talk through some of the trends and challenges that we see within mobility. We'll talk about some best practices we've identified for our customers, walk you through building an actual mobile strategy, and explain how you can help support your IT team with services from CDW. And then, as Michael mentioned, we'll be doing a demo of the CDW Total Mobility Management Solution, and we'll be taking questions at the end. So in 2013, mobile devices are going to actually surpass PCs as the most common web access tool. So what we see here is mobile devices are really here to stay, and they're becoming the primary tool for both consumers and business users to access information. The average number of connected devices per knowledge worker will reach 3.3 by 2014, which is up from an average of 2.8 in 2012. This sounds unbelievable, but it's true. The average mobile user is walking around with 2, 3, or 4 mobile devices at any given time. Wi-Fi hotspots are set to increase to 350% by 2015. And 33% of organizations supporting BYOD policies are not confident that they're effectively managing risk. So BYOD has added this new level of complexity, particularly when it comes to managing devices and mitigating risk. By 2014, most organizations are going to be delivering mobile apps to workers via private stores. So mobile apps are really the way of the future. We're seeing that apps aren't just about shopping or checking your bank balance. The enterprise is really recognizing the need for applications that render properly on mobile devices and ultimately increase productivity of mobile end users. And less than 10% of organizations are fully aware of the devices accessing their network. Visibility is probably one of the top concerns among the enterprise when it comes to mobile devices. In virtually every conversation I have with customers, this is what IT is struggling with. Who is accessing the network? What type of mobile device is it? And what type of information do they have access to? And nearly half of organizations have already experienced a security breach resulting from an employee's mobile device accessing the company network. So mobile breaches are real, and when you think about, for example, healthcare organizations, these breaches can be quite expensive. We're seeing now that the onus of proving innocence in a breach scenario is really falling on the organization now. So it's critical to ensure that you're protecting your data and ultimately your organization from a potentially damaging breach. So typically in a customer scenario, when I have conversations with customers about mobility, we see that the challenges that they're facing fall into 3 primary categories: security, management, and support. So from a security standpoint, how do you know when a device has been lost or stolen, and what type of information is actually on that device? Compliance is obviously a huge challenge in the healthcare industry, and for those of us that are accepting credit card payments, we deal with PCI compliance, or in the education space, we're talking about the Children's Internet Protection Act. So all of these things are concerns as it relates to utilizing mobile devices. Additionally, jailbroken and rooted devices pose a unique threat. When a device has been jailbroken or rooted, that initial layer of encryption has been removed from the device, and now those devices are open to malicious malware and malicious applications, which could potentially reach in and talk to other applications on the device, which may include your corporate data and information. From a management perspective, as I mentioned earlier, lack of visibility is a huge concern. Whose devices are they that are connecting to your Exchange server, for example? What type of device is it? So trying to figure out that device identity. And then really separating personal and organization data. So especially when we're talking about bring your own device, how do you provide content and resources to your end users in a secure fashion, but make sure that you're not infringing on their personal information and personal devices? When we talk about support, we see that mobility can certainly be a drain on IT resources. It's not uncommon, particularly when customers are rolling out a volume of devices, to have end users calling the traditional help desk with questions about downloading applications or enrolling in an MDM solution. And device diversity is obviously a huge challenge. We have multiple OSs to support, right? Windows Mobile and Android, iOS. And so in addition to that, we've got a million different flavors of Android, and a new Android joining the market every 2 weeks now. So it's impossible to keep up with those devices and manage them effectively across all platforms. And then when we talk about enforcing a mobile use policy, it's so important, right, to build that policy, but ultimately the policy is virtually ineffective if you aren't able to actually enforce it through tools. So I think some of the best practices Oh, I think we skipped a slide, folks, so I apologize. Let me dial it back one. So speaking again to the challenges, when we talked with customers and when customers have been surveyed about this particular topic, especially when we're talking about BYOD, you can see that the number of topics came up based on the pie chart on your screen, but the top three are of particular concern are securely connecting employee devices, the key word obviously being securely, avoiding the use of more IT resources, right? We're all stretched thin enough. Building enough wireless capacity and coverage is a concern, and ultimately ensuring mobile device security. So it sounds like, based on these results, the enterprise really understands that this is a multi-layer complexity issue and lots to think about when you're securing mobile devices in your environment. So in talking with our customers, we've developed some best practices that you may find helpful across all industries. And first and foremost, the most important thing is build that mobile strategy. And keep in mind, the strategy should really address BYOD, even if you're not a proponent of it. Create and communicate your mobile use policy. This is critical. The more you communicate to your end users regarding acceptable use of mobile devices, the better off you'll be. And it's important as well to explain to your end users the ramifications of a security breach. Help them understand the importance of really securing that data. Assessing and preparing your wireless network is a key step as well. When CDW actually began to allow end users to bring their own device to work, our wireless network was overwhelmed by all of the devices trying to connect. So look at this ahead of time if you can. This is really important. And then incorporate mobile device management into your overall onboarding and offboarding of employees and contractors. So when a new user enters your environment, explain that enrolling in the MDM solution is just part of the process to provide them with access to email and applications and other corporate resources. And really consider how you're going to manage mobility overall. The procurement process, the expenses associated with the devices, and any help desk questions that may come from end users utilizing mobile devices. So when you're building your mobile strategy, you really want to think about 5 key areas: the who, what, where, why, and how. So the who is really the focus of the strategy and solution. In a typical enterprise environment, it's likely to be the employees, maybe contractors, visitors. The what looks at what mobile capabilities you really want to deliver and to whom. Are you only interested in delivering email, or are there applications and content that you want to distribute as well? The where didn't really exist before mobility, right? But this could be anywhere now, and it could be also specific locations within your organization. But this is a key question because access can vary based on user roles. The why is your opportunity to really tie the strategy directly to your business objectives. What do you ultimately want to accomplish with mobile devices in your environment? And finally, how is your organization going to change based on the policies and strategy that you've defined? Consider the network and the backbone and infrastructure. So CDW has really found that there's a need for a comprehensive 360-degree solution that enterprise customers can leverage to integrate, gain control, and simplify all aspects of their mobile device environment while still being able to really harness the potential of the latest technology and ultimately improve the cost effectiveness of their mobile strategy. So we recently launched Total Mobility Management, which can help your organization in a number of ways. So within that planning phase, that first pillar, it starts really with a network or security assessment. So CDW Solution Architects focus on really helping you understand your organization's network readiness for mobility and any additional security requirements. From there, we can help define your mobile policy and help you think about where you should start if you're going to support BYOD or not. Most organizations do it backwards by purchasing mobile devices and MDM without really first understanding the value of mobility to their organization. So this is really where CDW can provide guidance. When we talk about enable, we've now created CDW's Mobility Management Portal, which provides a single pane of glass from which to procure, provision, and manage your mobile devices. So in a few moments, you're going to actually get to see firsthand what the portal can do for you. Additionally, we have the capability to load mobile device management profiles, configure and kit your mobile devices, and really reduce the time that you're spending on deploying those mobile devices to your employees. These services can help save time and really be invaluable so that you can focus on more strategic matters within your organization. And then when we talk about protecting and supporting, when it comes to mobile data, CDW really partners with the leading MDM solutions. I know Mobile Iron was mentioned at the beginning of this presentation. They're a wonderful partner of ours. But really our goal at CDW is to just offer objective consultation around mobile device management. So we would analyze your mobile requirements and your environment and really make a recommendation based upon what we see. In addition, we have the ability to really provide your organization with a complete help desk solution to help address mobile devices and or BYOD specifically. And then when we talk about empowering, it's predicted that we're going to download 70 billion mobile apps this year. So your employees and customers really want to consume data via mobile applications. Mobile as a platform will be a big trend moving forward. And so we have leveraged application development partners to help our customers in this area as well. So I mentioned earlier kind of building that mobile strategy and building that roadmap. And so oftentimes when we speak with customers, we find that building the policy and strategy is the most challenging. However, building that strategy and the policy is one of the first steps in the planning phase, and it's a critical one. So we're really positioned well to walk you through the process of identifying what the mobile landscape looks like, what the goals and objectives are, and then identifying really a roadmap and a path to success from there. So this could be as simple as maybe a 2-day mobility workshop, or as comprehensive as really helping you design a 3-year mobile strategy with prioritized action items. From a services standpoint, a key piece of this total mobility management offering is the mobility management portal. The portal really provides that single pane of glass that's going to allow you to integrate and deliver services along with manage your services from the top 4 carriers here in the U.S. And really analyze your expenses associated with mobile devices as well as your mobile device management and support. And so I know it will be good for you to see the portal in action in just a few minutes here. So again, to just expand on the portal a little bit more, we're really just talking about providing you with that single pane of glass to establish predetermined catalogs of devices, rate plans, and accessories specific to your organization. Whether you provide access to that portal to your end users or to someone on your IT team to manage your overall carrier relationships. And then within the portal, you'll not only have access to shop for and procure devices, but also the ability to manage and analyze your spend across all carriers. So today we support AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon. So again, this is really just that single location giving you all the capabilities that you currently have in probably separate portals from each carrier that you're supporting. And then when we talk about centralized management services, so the expense management section of the portal or segment of the solution is really a key piece, right? The expenses with mobile devices are significantly increasing. And so we're able to actually give you the ability to analyze and view your wireless spend and see trending and analysis for multiple carriers in a single location. So you have access to some predetermined reports that you can run. You can also build your own alerts so that you can see when maybe specific thresholds have been exceeded or a policy is being breached. And then quarterly audits are provided also to ensure that all cost savings are being realized and recommendations for plan changes are being made. And in addition, you can utilize this portal really to ultimately manage your mobile application and mobile device management licensing as well. Moving into support services, I think I mentioned earlier, it's not uncommon for us to, in customer scenarios, see folks that are rolling out maybe 1,000 tablets to their end users, but they're not totally prepared for those questions that may come from that device deployment, right? So we have identified the need really for additional support services specific to mobility, and we're able to provide live help desk services to address both BYOD and MDM administration. So maybe if your end users have questions about downloading an application or enrolling in the MDM client, or even if it's a warranty issue, right, and a device has been broken or they require a replacement, these are all things that our mobility help desk services are able to address on your behalf, again, so that you can focus on the projects that are most important and core to IT. And so ultimately, we want to empower our end users, right, with these mobile devices. It isn't just about giving them a phone or email access. It's about making them more productive. And so we've established these key partnerships with some of the leading custom application developers to enable you to develop and distribute your own mobile applications. Or you can even leverage existing applications that have been built specific to your industry. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, mobile app downloads are estimated to exceed 70 billion, which is a huge number. But ultimately, end users expect to use applications in both their personal and professional lives. So the overall CDW Total Mobility Management solution is really about bringing the best of breed partners to the table to deliver a total solution to you, our customers. From IBM to Samsung, Cisco, MobileIron, SAP, and many other partners, we're leveraging the expertise and the knowledge of these folks in addition to providing services around mobility to help you simplify the process.
And with that, Michelle, I want to thank you for your presentation and also let everyone in attendance know a couple of things. Number one, you can submit your questions to Michelle at any time. Get them in there and we'll be able to address them after the demo. Also, if you don't know how to disable your pop-up blocker, which we'd like you to do for the demo, just hold down your control key. That usually will do it. And at this point, I am going to turn it over to Brian, who is going to switch from the presentation to our screen share and show you the live demo. Brian, how you doing there?
Great. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Michelle. Hopefully I will be sharing my screen. Michael, can you see it?
Not yet, but I'll let Meredith Jumpy does and be your
okay.
So I just want to remind everyone, Brian is he's hands-on. He does this. He's the category supervisor for product and partner management at CDW, and he's been intimately familiar, shall we say, with the portal.
Yes, I helped develop the product offering. So thank you all for your time today. Hopefully you can now see the screen. The procurement portal is obviously a major component of the total mobility management services that CDW is offering, but there are additional components, one of which of course is wireless expense management, which is bundled within our portal. But in addition to that, there are MDM help desk services, which CDW will take over control of your mobile device management for you, as well as enforce your policies and keep you up to date on alerts and handle all those Tier 1 help desk calls, as Michelle indicated. So that's a component of this offering, but not necessarily something you'll see within the portal. Within the portal, you can see that this is a CDW branded portal. We are also able to provide customer branding here as well, if that's required. The view comes in two different views. There is an administrative view as well as just a regular user view. As you can see from my screen, I am logged in, but I do have an administrative view here. The first screen that I will go to is the home screen. And right here, I get kind of a detail of the overall expense management picture, as well as any alerts that I have set up.
So we're not seeing the screen share yet. Maybe you can try pushing it out again?
Okay, let's try this again. Okay. All right, it says live streaming in progress. Is that any better?
It should be. Okay, well, give it another go then. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Hopefully at this point you can see it. As I covered, we're on the home page, and the home page shows who the user is, and if you're an administrator, you will get a view into the expense management picture. In this red box here, you can see there are 136 alerts, and there are various reports on these alerts that I could click on. These alerts are set by the end user through consulting with CDW, and they let you know whatever it is that you find most important to know about your carrier plans. Zero usage alert is always a popular one, and as you can see, there are a lot of users here. This is from sample data. When I click on that report, a new window will open up, and you'll be able to see all the users who have gone multiple months without using their voice plan for their phones. Why it's important to have alerts like this set up is, of course, it may be advantageous to pool voice plans for these type of users, or possibly move them onto more of a BYOD plan and just give them a stipend towards data plans. By setting these alerts and being able to look at some of the different graphical information regarding your carrier plans, it better enables you to make those decisions that you need to appropriately manage your carrier plans. The carriers, by and large, thrive on inefficiencies and expecting people either to pay too much in overage fees or just not to use as many minutes or as much data as they have signed up for. So it's important that you work with someone on a quarterly basis to really analyze the data and get recommendations on what it is you should be doing. Each one of these 6 graphs here are customizable based on the user's needs. Moving on, any portion of a procurement portal, of course, there has to be an order process. That's our next step. This is, in fact, the BlackBerry that I use. It is quite old, but I am eligible for an upgrade. Sorry, what were you saying, Michael?
I just laughed. I saw that.
Oh, okay. Want to make sure we're still seeing it. So I can upgrade, and I understand that I am eligible for an upgrade, so I will click that I understand. And now I can see all the devices that are now eligible for me to choose from. The reason why these are all showing Sprint is that is the carrier that I am using, although I can switch carriers and port my number through this process if I so choose. An important note on the product catalog that is selected here, this would be selected by a company for their employees to view. So only those products that an administrator selects will show up for a given work group. That being said, I'm going to decide to purchase a Sprint iPad. I am then prompted to select a tablet plan. I'm selecting the plan. I can then make a decision if the administrator so chooses. There are cases and that can be chosen as accessories. I will continue through. They will confirm my information, who I am, what department. And then there's a preview of an order with the cost. And finally, a checkout process. What I would have to do is enter in the address to mail this to, click Next, and an order would be entered. What then happens is anytime an order is entered, an administrator can go in and look at all the open orders, and then they would be responsible for approving any orders before it comes to CDW for fulfillment. That way no employees can just make any purchase they want without first getting it cleared by their management. If I have any questions or any difficulties as an end user while doing this, I can online chat with a CDW employee who can help address any issues I may be having, whether it's with the portal or whether it's a question of where my device is after I purchased it. In addition, I could fill out a help form, or I could request email support from CDW. All these, of course, being in addition from calling a standard number if I need to speak to somebody. Additionally, the portal has more information from an expense management than just what was on the home page. I can look at all the company invoices and slide down and look at kind of the division of charges. Once again, these are customizable, so these are the charts that I have set up currently, but I can get creative with this. I can have various departments show up only, or I can look at the company view as a whole. Whatever's important for me as the administrator to look at, that is how I can set up my graphs. And then I can go to the invoice details, and this will take me into a deeper view of those charges that are hitting the company all the way down to end users if I so choose. This is a demo environment, so it is running a little bit slower than it would in real time. Generally speaking, this would go much quicker than this. Also within this, you could see this yellow box with a 0 here. This is an indicator of any alerts that I would have for the given month. In this case, it's January of 2013. If I had any alerts here, I could click on this box and it would take me to all those outstanding alerts. Also, in addition, you can see my alert number up here. This is for the total number of alerts, not just for January.
Let me remind
in addition,
everyone,
I can.
Your questions coming. We'll get to as many of them as we can after Brian's demo is finished. Go ahead, Brian.
In addition, the only information currently loaded into this demo environment is Verizon, but you can also do all of your sorting by the carriers here. And all 4 of the major U.S. carriers are supported. So Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Sprint. Lastly, there's a My Account button. This is where it can take you to account information. Here you can see the user email, the name. Because I have administrative views, you can see that indicated here, and that affects how my home page looks. I have a dashboard. A standard view would not show all the wireless expense management components of the company. Obviously, you wouldn't necessarily want to enable that for every employee out there. I also could have a primary address for billing or for shipping information or have to send anything here. This next tab is my current device, which is a BlackBerry Sprint 9650 Bold. You can see that it's currently in use and is paid by the company on my behalf. Because this gets billed directly to CDW, it would go to the company address, but if it were going to be billed to my house and I received the stipend later, I could enter that information here. In addition, as a new user, I can add a new device. If I wanted to put in any number of devices here, I could choose a T-Mobile device and choose whether it's active, inactive, suspended, and then put in the device information as well. So I can choose to add iPhones and any number. T-Mobile only has iPhones, so let me choose AT&T where there's a little bit more variety there. I could choose iPhones, and then if I so chose, I could also add iPads to this device as well and be able to keep track of it all here. From an administrative view, you will also have access to all the reports out there. Very similar to the alerts, we can click on a 0 usage or a carrier account report. Just clicking on it will open up another window where we can then look at the carrier, the allocated charges for the given month from there. Once again, this is only Verizon, but you could also select by various carriers should you have that information loaded into the service. And you can look through all the completed orders that are out there. So everybody who has ordered a device, another report. In a demo environment, this is obviously empty, but in a real-world environment, there would be many, many different reports here, all of which are exportable to Excel. Similar to looking at my user account, I can also look at all the users that I have loaded into the system and keep track of what devices they are doing as an asset management tool. I can click on any user, look at his profile, look at his device, and as an administrator, I can also add a new device for that user. We could set cost thresholds for any users, whereby they can't either buy a device that costs above a set amount. You can even set pricing control thresholds to send alerts to you if should their carrier plan or data usage go over what they are approved for. If I were to have any open orders that I needed to approve as an administrator, here's where it would come through. And before any of these orders would ship and go to CDW to fulfill, an administrator from a company would have to approve. And then lastly, you can look at support tickets and order any open orders. So here are a bunch of sample support tickets that have been entered. And we can click into any one that we'd like to see. Not a whole lot of information here as this was set up as an example. But Michael, that fulfills this portion of the presentation regarding the demo.
Terrific. Thank you very much for that, Brian. And I'm sure there are those of you out there who have questions relating to Brian's demo. Well, you just go ahead and be sure to turn those questions in, submit them, and we'll get to as many of them as we can coming up in our Q&A session right now. So Michelle, if you've muted yourself before, take yourself off mute. And let's do that. Let's talk about some questions that you might have out there. This one comes from Maria, who wants to know, can user information be uploaded in bulk, or must each user be entered individually? And I'm sorry, this comes from Scott.
So within the portal is the question?
I imagine so, yes.
Yes. So how the portal is set up is that when CDW has reached an agreement with a customer regarding entering in information, CDW would then work with the customer to actually establish the portal. If the customer provides us with a list of users and their devices, we will upload that information for the initial setup of the portal. Additional users would then have to be added in on an individual basis, but all pre-existing users prior to coming onto CDW can be set up as an initial bulk, and that will not be a burden on your IT department.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. This is another question from Scott regarding how CDW interacts with the company's central purchasing or payable system. How does that all work?
CDW is able, there's a couple different billing functions of this. We're able to take a bill, whether it be on a central credit card or place POs for it. In addition, there would be the charge for the overall portal to be set up. So we are able to integrate to some degree with any of their central PO systems.
Okay, terrific. This question comes from Anna, who wants to know, how do I go about purchasing CDW's total mobility management services?
Sure. So this is Michelle. I'll take that question. So absolutely, you can, you can work through your CDW account manager. If you do not have an account manager assigned, certainly you can work with us, and we'll get you routed to the right person. And typically what we would do is have an initial conversation with you just to kind of understand what your objectives are around mobility. So it would be your CDW account manager and one of the solution architects from the mobility team. And then ultimately we can really customize a solution on your behalf.
Okay, terrific. Thank you for that. This one comes from Rachel, who would like to know, can we opt to not utilize the support section and just use the other sections?
Yes, that's an option that we can allow. We obviously encourage folks to use the support section, but if you want to do something else and you just want to make use of the portal itself, that's something we can fulfill along with the wireless expense management.
Okay, terrific. How big an organization need to be before they take advantage of a service like this? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? What is your typical client size?
Our typical client size begins at 100 devices, but we do have offerings for those customers who are sub 100 devices.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much for that. And are there any particular devices or carriers, or is this completely agnostic to all of them?
This would be agnostic to all carriers and devices, so any of the 4 major national carriers we can fulfill for them, and we could fulfill the devices based on whatever a customer requests we put into the portal.
Okay, terrific. Well, that's all the questions we actually received today. If anyone else has a question, you can zoom it in now. Otherwise, we'll wrap up. I'd like to offer my thanks today to our presenters, to Michelle and Brian, for their great presentation and demonstration. It's always good to see how something actually works. If you haven't yet done so, you can get a copy of today's deck. And give us your feedback. Let us know how you like today's event. Don't forget to complete the survey. I'm going to check one more time, see if there are a couple more questions came in, so let me get to those before we wrap. This one comes from Matthew, who says, I saw where you can have email alerts sent when a specific person or device goes over a pre-specified expense amount. Can then this be done proactively for data usage or minutes usage? That would be so that we could notify people prior to incurring those charges.
That's a great question. We can work on something like that. What you would have to do is set the threshold below your warning amount, so in order to be proactive about it. So if you have an overage amount of $20 over your standard fee, you could set your warning at just a standard overage so that they know they're approaching that $20. But that's how that would have to be handled.
That makes sense. Here's a question from Jody who says, do you envision being able to support carriers globally?
That is something that we will look at over time, but currently CDW only fulfills customers in the United States and some degree Canada.
Okay, terrific. Well, with that, we will wrap up. Let me let you know that there is a recorded version of this event, and it will be made available at eseminarslive.com. You can surf over there. It'll be available starting tomorrow, and while you're there, take a look at our list of upcoming events as well. Once again, my thanks to CDW, Mobile Iron, Michelle Nichols, and Brian Lawrence for bringing us today's event. For eSeminars, this is Michael Krieger saying, have a great day.